really focused on the Quran itself and what it specifically teaches, and I don't spend a lot of time on jihad. I mean, that's what everybody wants to talk about because they've heard so much about it, and the problem is, it's not that it's not an important subject, but if you don't understand what I'm dealing with and the wider context of the interaction of Muhammad with the early Christian communities that he encountered and things like that, then you'll never have the foundation to really understand what jihad's about in the first place. So, for example, one of the big issues that people always bring up in regards to Muhammad is his marriage to Aisha, his child bride, which he consummates at 9 years of age. I address that, and I point out that it was far more scandalous in the days of Muhammad. That was not considered scandalous at all. In fact, Aisha took it as a sign of the fact that she was the only virgin bride Muhammad had, and it actually elevated her in the eyes of the people, over against the fact that there is a clear situation that was much more of a scandal, and the Quran clearly shows it was understood to be a scandal in regards to Muhammad's marriage to Zainab bin Jahsh. Far more of an issue, but for most people in the West, they could care less. Oh, cousin, huh? Well, big deal. But that shows where the Quran really is coming from. And I personally find it to be one of the most important issues in regards to the Quran, because the fact that if you can have divine revelation that's supposedly from eternity past, all about how you are supposed to be able to marry the divorced wife of your adopted son, which results in the destruction of adoption in Islamic lands, that says far more to me about where the origins of the Quran than anything about Aisha. And yet you go online, and all you'll find is about Aisha and how terrible this was and things like that. So you try to pick what's actually really important and that has the longest, has the most relevance to the issues. In regards to the issue of jihad, this is my take, and it's really not a part of the book, because those issues arise from the interpretation of the Quran, and the problem is that the Quran, and I do address this in the book, this part of it anyways, the Quran is really not interpretable outside of what's called the hadith literature. The hadith are the actions, the sayings, the teachings of Muhammad and his companions. And the Sunni have their hadith, the Shia have their hadith. The Sunni hadith, large body of literature, a very large body of literature. The two most accepted and widely read of the hadith collections, Sahih al-Bukhari and Sahih Muslim, 9 volumes and 8 volumes respectively, in Arabic and English. And I've actually read all of these, at least Bukhari and Muslim. And my concern is that when you get quote-unquote radicalized Muslims and non-radicalized Muslims debating these issues, which they do, and the radicalized ones have much more oil money and hence a bit bigger presence out there, what you have is they end up having to debate out of that hadith material. And I can tell you one thing, having listened to all of it, it's not consistent with itself. And so one group grabs hold of these scholars, and one group grabs hold of these scholars, and they interpret these hadith in this way, and they interpret these hadith in this way. And my concern is there's really no self-corrective mechanism within Islam to be able to answer these questions and to come to a final conclusion as to what the Islamic perspective would be. The Salafi Wahhabi Muslim that takes a very conservative view can build a real strong case. I mean, Osama bin Laden was not stupid. And he can build a real strong case from the Sunnah of Muhammad and from choosing his material. But then a really smart person on the other side can come along and say, no, you've missed this, this, this. And they say, well, that's not as important as this. And I just don't see that the materials from which they're drawing their debates are sufficient or consistent enough to actually answer the question.